Yeah, I'm back. The conversation was getting hotter, and I had to go out and come back to buy us more time because I don't want us for IG to start sending us. Very soon we'll have our own channel. Don't worry, we'll have our own spots and everything. So, yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you. Thank you. So, we'll wait for the next person who's going to join. That should be Neka. That should be Nneka. Let me see. She's not here yet. If you've not joined us earlier, you are just joining us, you are not on the first live show. This is Women Speak. Normally, we have this is my business show, but today it's Women Speak. Normally, we have entrepreneurs coming on and talking about their businesses, and we walk through their journey of their businesses. But now we have the events of the past week have been nothing short of horrific, as I said earlier, and we want to hear the views of the women. What do they think got us here? And we've already had 3 people speak: Lara Mubiaya, Tinu Phillips, and Cynthia Fude. Right now, I'm going to go live with Neka. Live with Ineka right now. I've sent you a request. Please accept it and let's come online. Hello. Hi,
Hi.
Neka.
Hi, Wumi. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm good.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's get into it because I want us to be I want us to go deep now because
Okay.
I still cannot get over the event. Personally, on that Tuesday, I had gunshots in my area. My children were like, "Mommy, what's that? What's that?" And I had to start closing all the windows, drawing all the curtains. I'm like, God, I've never been in that kind of situation before. It was horrible, horrible. My husband was out too. I was scared, and I don't know. Everybody I started chatting, everybody was like, "What's happening?" and everything. And then the night came, and they were heard the worst. Now I want to ask you, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, good. Good. Because somebody says audio, so I don't know.
Probably her network.
Okay. So now, was 20 October 20, was it avoidable? If you are in government, no, let me finish it. If you are in government, can you walk us through what you think should have been the appropriate response to placate the youth? Because sincerely, President Buhari's speech didn't do it. So let's hear your view.
Okay, so could October 2020 have been avoided? I think definitely. However, I just have to, I can't make it a straightforward answer in terms of the fact that
No,
you have to
let's
look at the
hear
person's,
your view.
yes, I always say you have to look at the person's antecedents. President, you can't take a monkey and, from wearing shorts to wearing a gown and say, oh, we now have a human being. A monkey is just a repackaged monkey. So you have to look at the history, and that's where I feel there was an issue. Yes, 2020 is a year of disruption. And somehow it's like the NSAS protest, which actually the agitation started in 2017 on Twitter, now blew up into something really huge with a video that was circulated on social media. Now, the NSAS protest sort of disrupted, Nigerians in their thinking in terms of political consciousness, because our generation has been fine. Somehow we've gotten into this lethargic state. I mean, if you look at the 80s and all of that, the June, during the June, was it that June 12 crisis and all of that, there were people, those people that were in university in those days, they protested. This is the same way they were just oppressed and stopped. And then we've had issues in Southern Kaduna. What has been the response? The things that this generation, we thought that we were immune from certain things happening because it was in Lekki, because it's a cosmopolitan area. But if you look at things, if you look at the Obasanjo government, they did the same thing for Odi. And till tomorrow, he comes into places and we celebrate him. We still celebrate him, you know. So it's like Nigerians have been conditioned, you know, to be sort of apathetic. We had this political apathy. So this thing now brought an awakening. Now, however, we fail to engage with the fact that this is still a government with a military mindset. Because a general in Agbada is a general.
Yes,
there's a conditioning of the military. They think in a certain way. And he has ruled in a time where they were used to coups and killings. I mean, these people have gone to war. And so there's something called cognitive dissonance. They are sort of unable, if you put them under too much pressure to engage at a level where their values don't align, their thinking, their conditioning, their training does not align with what they are trying to fix them in, they'll respond the way they are used to. That's the truth. You can't force them to respond the way you want someone to respond, a normal thinking person that has been conditioned in a normal environment. You can't force them to. So what this generation did is that we live in a sort of utopia. If we had, it's not as if our parents didn't fight. If you look at history teaches you, if you refuse to be a student of history repeats itself in your generation. They fought, but they were crushed.
Yes.
And that was the same thing. People, what are you doing here? We've told you, okay, NSAS, within when that communique came out, within 2 days, they brought out something, okay, we've disbanded SARS, we've given you SWOT, we've answered you, go and sit down. It's just like a man that is a violent person. Honey, I need this, so let's talk. I've answered you now, what do you want? What do you want again? Next thing, you want to talk for too long, I give you a slap, you keep quiet. Because I'm used to violence. And so, our people, I believe that it could have been avoided on both sides. First, if the government were normal, but you see, I always say you must look at the person's history. You cannot treat someone, because even look at the last elections, the way we're sorrowful on what they call it, October 20th. We were sorrowful at the last elections. People that lived in Okota and the rest, there was violence. Oshoji, there was violence. They came in with violence. So we had a thinking that what was happening in Southern Kaduna, Lagos is immune. But this is how they've been operating. So our generation has to have some reality checks. This, what they call it now, this utopia, this bubble that we live in, that no, we are fine because we're in Lagos, anything can happen. My dear, they've given you, Shebi, we had speech, the speech that has been termed the speechless speech, where we were now told that if we hear him, people will see what will happen to you. So everybody now is
international people, no.
Exactly. So
find you.
Yeah. So this is sort of it's a democracy, but the truth is what we've had in Nigeria so far is a kangaroo democracy. They just rebranded. General Obasanjo rebranded in Agbada and came back. General Buhari rebranded in Agbada and came back. But we've forgotten that, you know, even if you wear a monkey a shorts, or you wear a monkey, what's it, Babariga, monkey is still a monkey. So, yeah. So that's my thinking. So that could have been avoided. Secondly, on the part of the youths, mentorship. Mentorship is important in anything. Mentorship. They refuse to, like, I mean, I think it was Tinu that touched on that. Yeah. Refusing to liars, because the truth is, it's a singular vision. There are people all over the world. I mean, look at the funding. And you see, if they had read the signs, I love what Mr. Tedo Peterside said. If they had read the signs, circumstantial evidence should have shown them that force was coming. You know, there's another part of circumstantial evidence when they began to block accounts, bank accounts, because the amount of funding that was coming across the world to show that Nigerians were just looking for a champion. We're looking for a David. Look at the level of funding. I mean, people were eating food they were not eating at home. Even my caterer. In how many days? To the place. You know, people were going, we're sending small shops, ordering for food. I mean, ambulances, the level. I'm telling you, I saw father rice, somebody cooked. You know, somebody had paid for it, take it to the protesters. So even the level of funding, it showed that they had given a signal that, come, this thing is going to the kind of, it's now a kind of system that the government is not used to engaging, and is forced they would have used to end it. It would have shown, because if they're already blocking your account, that is already overstepping the boundaries. That was human rights violation. You have no right, even if I want to give PDP 100 million, you have no right to stop me from giving PDP 100 million. But they had crossed the boundaries there. Then they had given, they had said they were constituting Crocodile Smile or whatever. What's that? Operation Crocodile Smile or something?
Yes, I saw that.
Exactly. So we were just dancing. I know, EndSARS. You were not seeing the signs in the environment. More experienced people would have shown you that, my dear, can you see these movements? It's telling you where it's going to end up ultimately. But you know, that was them. That was, yeah. So some of those things, if we had done that, I think it would have been avoided.
Okay. So if you were in government, what would have been the appropriate response? Did you answer that? Because what would have been the appropriate response to
okay, for me first, I've said empathy.
Okay.
Like the first speaker said, empathy. Empathy is so powerful. It says, I walk in your shoes, I feel what you feel, you know. But you see, well, you know, we've had things where the president never came out. We practically begged him to speak to us. When he finished speaking, we almost said, why did you speak to us? You know, the truth is, empathy is so powerful. If you don't feel what I feel, then you can't really talk with me. So, but you see, the truth is that the government is quite disconnected from the average Nigerian. That's the truth. So empathy is very powerful. Secondly, giving that body language of violence, because I mean, human right is a human right violation to start telling people already the other person will become tense and distrustful. If you start blocking my accounts, the source of my funding is telling me something already. You can't be engaging with me. I'm blocking the source of my funding. You're already violating my human rights. You can't be telling me, just like somebody in a relationship, I'm saying this because women, you know, somebody can't be telling you, I love you, I care for you, and be beating you. The person, your spouse is violent, and then he comes say, you know, I just keep beating you because I love you, you know, but you know, I just, you know, there's a disconnect there, you know. So those things, the body language was not, it did not show that these people really wanted to dialogue. Then the third thing I believe is, if they had come, you see, one of the ways, I mean, if you look at the mayor of New York and how a lot of foreign governments handle crisis. I remember when there was a crisis in France, the president of France had to fly back from an engagement he had in another country to come and settle the issues there. So, but we don't seem to have that. We don't have a leader coming back to the people, engaging them at every level. If the president has said every governor should start engaging people at a personal level, every day be at the protest ground, ensure protection for these protesters, the police rather should have been asked to protect the protesters, regulate traffic, then they should have given probably some kind of...
The Constitution says that when they were some kind of protest, that's what the Constitution says. Whenever there's a protest, some kind of security. There was no security.
There's some kind of regulation to the protesters too. Because the protesters too at some point were constituting a nuisance. People could not go about their normal businesses. Yeah. So you cannot be protesting people and stopping their source of income. Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, and many people, they earn by daily bread. Some people, if they don't work today, they cannot eat today.
True.
So they should have started, there's a minimum. Then, you know, you will clear the road and all of that. So it could have been managed with reasoning, but I would say that the government really of Nigeria, the problem is cognitive dissonance. You cannot engage at a level you are not used to.
At all.
You know, so that's my answer to that.
Cognitive dissonance. Okay, yes. So now, I have a second question. No, Nigeria has deep-rooted issues. I would like you to mention some of those issues. Those issues have grown into our system now. And what do you think? How do you think we can begin to reform this system and these institutions that we are used to already, but are not normal? This deep-rooted issue.
Nigeria's deep-rooted issue. Of course, we know the major problem with Nigeria is that at some point in Nigeria, there were military boys that were youth that, you know, took over the reins of power. And this military youth have now grew into military men and military grandfathers and you know there are still people there, and somehow it's a kind of Nigeria has sort of been passed around amongst them. So there's a strong hold of dictatorship in the various forms. Just repackaged dictatorship in Nigeria. That's just what we've had. Repackaged dictatorship in my own mind. So the truth is, if those things, if that is just one problem. Then the second problem is poverty. Poverty, because the truth is, when a person is poor, I've engaged with young people. I was a youth mentor. I had one youth that in his entire family, there were so many, and you see poverty perpetuates itself in other vices. There were so many living in one room, and he said sometimes for 3 days, 4 days, they wouldn't eat any food. All they would drink is well water, just to fill up their stomachs. They were that hungry. Now tell me a man who has children, who can't feed them. It's easier for them to go into vices. Now, I'm not saying that is it's reason enough, because you see, mitigating poverty has to go hand in hand. You can't say go away, be filled, but bless God. While we advocate right morals, there must be a proper, there has to be literacy, because see, in Nigeria, another big problem that's compounded by a lot of this elitists. We have a lot of elites. A small fraction of the elite is a huge inequality. In economics, there's this thing called the HDI index. Now, if you look at that human development index, Nigeria, we are pretty low. We're about, I think, 153 out of 189 countries. If you look at a country like Netherlands is 0.0, we are 0.53, while Netherlands is like 0.8, and they're like the 10th. So if they're like the 10th and we are like 153, it means that so many people are just there's going to be a lot of brain drain. We're not going to have the right people, even to support the economy. There's so much. It's like a vicious cycle. So when you even look at poverty, let me even take it one after the other. Look at poverty. Now, poverty, what perpetuates poverty? You also look at the level of unemployment, and it's a youthful population. If you have a predominantly youthful population that is idle, they will go into vices. That's why it's easy to have what they call them, these thugs and the rest. It's easy to give. I read in the papers one day that for a person to join an occult, a young boy that was confessing, he said they told him, is either you bring 15,000 naira or you kill somebody. Now I said, okay, already. So you see the mindset that they can equate 15,000 to a life. There are some people that 5,000 is a lot of money to them. They can equate it to a human life. These are things I keep saying, that poverty perpetuates itself. These are the things, because the more you can't feed your family, the bigger these things look like to you. So when they bring things like a bag of rice to give you to vote for them, when they bring things like it means a lot to them. So the thing is, how do we even start? Like we say, knowledge. That's why I keep saying this generation has something working for them. Social media. Everybody now at least can be reached. You see, one of the things that enabled the NSAS vision, which the previous generation did not have, was social media. Everybody can be reached in their homes, So we must leverage those things to begin to educate people. Then work with people like Pastor Tony Rappo. These people have models of reforming. People like the House of the Rock Pastor, who was able to now have the experience at TBS that was a place that was notorious for thugs and these kinds of people. How did they reform them? What did they do? You can begin to use these case studies to evaluate. You can use this to evaluate and assess how we can begin to
Yes. It just right. We can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. So these are the things we need to begin to study, models that have worked, and begin to use them at our grassroots. Using the radio, I noticed that every time you are in a bus, the drivers listen to the radio. I think they listen to the radio more than the average person. I don't listen to the radio, but I noticed that on the average, when I'm in a bus in Lagos, the radio is always on. What about programming, music? Music creates the culture, shapes the culture. All these bomb songs and all this nonsense they sing, can they begin to sing things that, and since we have musicians now joining the movement, begin to sing songs about national orientation. especially at this level of co-opting the
grassroots. Before, when Majek
yes.
was saying, when Vaskimono,
exactly.
you know, all of them were singing things like that. Even Fela was singing things that made
social consciousness, you know. So there are things that we can do. I'm just saying that there are little things we can do. We might not have it all set. And I think that, like we said, any headless thing is a monster. Any headless creature is a monster. So if this move is going to really work, to have representatives that are not also afraid to die, are ready to take this thing to the last. You can mobilize people. Yeah, you can mobilize people. That's the truth.
You watched Paul's interview with Amanpour. I see you watched that. Okay, so with Amanpour, did you hear me? Can you hear me?
Well, it's sort of breaking, but I think I heard with Amanpour.
Okay, Amanpour on CNN. Or maybe I'm not pronouncing it.
Yeah, no, Christine Amanpour. Yeah.
Yes, Christine Amanpour. Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Nneka. That was quite deep, you know. And you're so correct. You're so correct about the we using this media to get through to the people and, you know, educating their minds. And that was what Lara said at the beginning, you know, changing this mindset of the people of the country. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are going to have the last person, and that will be Jumoke. Jumoke, are you here? I can't begin to tell you how we felt this week. This week has been something else. I almost joined the crew that said 2020 is a bad year, but I had to draw myself back. It's been something else. Okay, so Jumoke, so I'm sending you a request. Please accept it and let's go live. Hey.
Hello.
How
Hello,
you
good evening. Very well, thank you. Thank you very much.
I like your smile.
Just like you've been beaming all day.
Yes, so
right.
We don't have any excuse, or we don't have any other choice. At least instead than carrying a long thing and all that. Yeah. Okay. What do you think is the way forward? As you know, people say 2020 is still far. This is 2020. We have 3 more years. I don't think so. What do you think is the way forward? As we are still in 2020.
Right. So I would take this from 2 angles, from the angle of the average man and from the angle of the government, because everybody has a role. It's a collective responsibility. Everybody that has spoken tonight has spoken to some part of every solution that we should be having. Lara spoke to cultural change, mindset change. Tino spoke about the average guy that people will look at as hoodlums. They are also protesters, but what they know best, how they know best to handle things is by violence. So there's a lot of all of that we need to engage. So if we'll be looking at it, for instance, if we're saying the hoodlums, I'll start from there, which is the aftermath of the situation that we had just about a week ago. Now, the result of their actions has led us, I would say, weeks and months and almost years back, because it means that we have now increased our unemployment rates. A lot of businesses were medium and small scale businesses, all vandalized and looted and all of that. We also have taken back the fact that resources should be used for developmental projects. Apart from the ones that had been done. But right now, it looks like we'll be taking those funds back to those things that had been done before to get them back to state. So you see, those things need to be taken into consideration as we look at the solutions. Now, so for the government, I would say, looking at the angle of the protesters and what they have put forward in terms of our demands for the police officers, for the victims and their families, for, you know, everybody that is concerned about, I mean, that is in the midst of all of this drama. So I would say those points, those demands that have been made, can our youth just, I mean, can our government just take up these things and meet these demands without any window dressing? As is, can you be transparent about the process? Can you have timelines? Can we have a checklist? Can we say that at this point, am I able to tick this off as done? Am I able to, okay, we've defaulted on this. What is the next timeline to achieve these things? So, you know, transparency on the side of the government is one. No window dressing. We need to state it as is. You know, if you're doing stuff behind and it's not even being projected and you say people are not getting your view, I don't understand that. If you're doing it, let it be shown. Speak it up, speak it out, be the Soros, okay, you know, let people see what you're doing, let people see what you're doing, you know. So for me, that's one. Youth engagement is another. I mean, like the Soros, okay, I just said, youth engagement in the sense that, okay, we've listened to you. If you're using the word loud and clear, you really must be loud and clear.
Exactly.
Engage the youth. Let them know that you have listened, you are working. Like, we need to know that you are, because I mean, it's about action, it's not about words. You are saying it, yes, but I can see it, I can feel it. Engage me, let me know that you are working. Okay, yes, I'm happy that they said they've set up funds. I mean, state government, federal government, and all of that, they set up funds. Now, another thing is to hope and pray that the managers of those funds actually do them with integrity, which is another thing entirely. So we also need to look, apart from youth engagement, we need to also do youth education. In fact, it's not just the youth, civic education generally. People need to know that certain things are your rights, one, are your responsibilities too, and are your expectations, which is a flow really. So if you don't have the right, I mean, for instance, we're saying, I have youth, okay, youth restiveness, yes, we understand that there's been a bit of failure in the system in terms of unemployment or empowerment to even do a business and all of that for the youth. I mean, that's totally understandable. But then we need to learn, we need to teach our youth and our people generally that, for instance, looting, arson, vandalization, those are not the way to go.
Yeah.
They should not be an option. Like, it will just becloud the message that you're trying to pass on. I mean, they won't even see what you're trying to say. It just becomes, look at them, they just become hoodlums, touts around town, and all they just want to see is to move you out. So basically, we need to do that. They need to do the education for the populace. It's very important. So from the part of the youth, we should also be looking at gradual infiltration. How do we intend to be a part of the system, a working system? Now, there's a space for experience, which is the space of the off-mic generation.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't take that out. They've been in the process for so long. I mean, also from their youth and maybe more. Do you understand? So our youth also need to see that this is the right time to take action. How do you take action? It's not by mouth. You need to, I mean, how many people are members of political parties, whether old or new, or, you know, how many people are doing what they need to do? How many people are familiar with the Constitution, like what the provisions of the law of my land, what does it say? You know, so people need to know all of these things and be familiar with it. For me, now that's on the part of the government. Now, on the part of the people, the youth, the protesters, and all of that, let me use the word protest as an acronym. Now, I'll say P is the physical protest, which, I mean, they did. And Tinu did an absolute analysis of the whole process. Now, for now, considering all that has happened, I will say we deprioritized physical protest. That's from the side of our people that are urging for stuff. I mean, it's our right, we need to get it. But then, the physical protest, where has it gotten us to? It was a fantastic move, very well organized. In fact, like the global embrace that it got, it was amazing. I mean, that's our youth, that's the Nigerian youth, not a lazy youth. That is the person that we look forward to as our future. Those are the people. Are we getting there? Are we, I was, you know, those periods, I was like, oh, this is Nigeria. This is another version of this is Nigeria. Our people are working wonders. Right. So for me, I'll take physical protest for now. Let's just, deprioritize it and, try and find a way around all of that means to get things done. Now, I would say representation. Representation in the sense that Tinu made a point. She said the weakness, the strength at some point ended up being the weakness, which is the headless structure that we had at the time. Yeah. So re-strategizing and helping with, what we realized was that different people from different walks of life got up in line with this protest. We can have a bit of all of these people. There were barristers in there were celebrities in there were musicians in there were the educated people from all walks of life that can actually stand for us, understand our point, and pass this on intellectually. Sit on the table and work with our government to say, okay, look, these are the things we want, and we expect that you will give us a timeline, a workable timeline that we can work with. Right, that's representation. We need to have a head. Now, the O, for instance, I would say is maybe the online protest. Now, I said, let's prioritize the physical protest. Let's take it online. What are we telling people? We can amplify our voices. We can, send messages everywhere. Emails work, social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. All of these platforms work for us to share articles. You can host conversations. For instance, we're having an Instagram live. So we can make this thing work, So then the T, I would say timelines, which is what I said before. Timelines. Can we track what we have said we need, that the government has heard loud and clear? Is there a way we can say, okay, you have done this for us. These are the deliverables. You have done this. We can check it out. And these have been defaulted upon. When do we expect to get, something that can help us gauge these things and assure us that we're getting to where we need to be. So the E, for instance, I would say is the engagement of the community, the grassroots, offline. What's the legwork? How are we engaging our people, which is the civic education, which I said earlier. We need to tell our people. It's not by mouth. They are doing it one way. That is not supposed to be. How do you be a part of it? How do you involve yourself in the process? How do you make it work? We need to provide them with the tools that will educate them as to how things are done or what the essence. Some people don't even understand the essence of this process. Everybody's in town. Some people are on, So we need to make them understand that, look, it's your good, it's my good, our collective good. People need to understand what it is about. It's not just about, no, that's not about it. There's a long-term thing that we're looking to achieve, and people must understand that. You need to empower the grassroots. You need to educate them. They need to know what this is about. Now, so for me, I would say the S is strategy. Strategy, of course, comes in different phases. The short term, medium term goals or strategy, and the long term. You can't get everything at a goal. We won't be deceiving ourselves, So there's some things you can get on the short term. There's some things you can give a bit of time for, and there's some that can't happen in the twinkling of an eye. You just need to wait for it. So how do you pass this message? For instance, we're saying, okay, 2023 is just by the way. Some people are telling me they don't even have voters card. This day and age, do you understand? Voters registration, very important. Get it done. Political consciousness. How are you getting involved with how certain things are run? It's important. We want young people in government. We need them to be our leaders. Does it happen in one day? It doesn't happen in one day. It's a gradual process. People need to follow the flow. And if you're not a part of it from the beginning, it just will not happen. It just will not happen. So our strategies must be right. Our people must be involved. They must be informed. It's important. So the last thing, which is T, protest. In protest, T is team up. How do you team up? You need to strategically put yourself in some form of coalition. Like, come together. What is the vision? What is the mission? What do we want to achieve? How do we intend to do it? What is our process flow? The flow chart must be agreed. We must know, formalize the coalition. How do we do it? You must be able to create standards that are monitorable. Evaluate yourselves. How are we moving it? How is it going on? You know, so really all of these things is a collective effort, like I said. And I will just cap it up by going back to what Lara said at the beginning. Our mindset needs to change. Our mindset needs to, you can't give what you don't have. That's the truth. So except you build yourself to that point that you can deliver on what is expected. I mean, it's one thing to sit and expect something from people. But when you are there, it's a different ballgame entirely. But how do you get there? It's not just about Sorosoke. Are you a performer? Are you in line? Are you aligned with the vision? You need to know all of these things. So it's a thing from the government. It's another from the people. And it's another as well from the frontliners of the protest. So you see, everybody needs to play a part, and we must do it. That's the only way we can see the new Nigeria. It's not, it's a word, yes. It's a word. I mean, it's a phrase, I'll put it like that. But then it doesn't just happen. It will not just happen. We must make it work. Concerted efforts, deliberate actions. We must make it work, and it's our collective responsibility.
Thank you so much, Jumoke.
Thank you.
That was quite, as like you broke it down for us. I love the way you used to like break it down for us and everything. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, people, there you have it. You had 5 intelligent, phenomenal women come to tell us their views. Do you agree? It seems like from the comments I'm saying that we agree about that. So I'm going to add my own, and then would round up. So you know, we have 3 arms of government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. The most important to me in this is the legislature. The legislature, they are the ones that create these rules. They are the ones that create the laws. So now, if it is not a matter of we saying we want young people or we don't want old people, no. What kind of people are we voting into our legislature? What kind of people are we asking to come and make our rules and our laws? Who are these people? If you can be 30, you can be someone that is 30 and you don't have values. You might lack integrity. You can be a bad leader and you are 30. You can be 60, you can be 70 and be an upright person that is a very, very good leader with good leadership skills. So to me, it doesn't matter, though the age matters in the fact that maybe it might slow you down in things and then you might not be up to date as far technology and all that. But if we are going to elect people into the government, we should look at people who are electing into the legislature. Your personality, the kind of person you are, we should look at their antecedents. How have these people behaved? What have they done? If it's someone that has even had any smear of taking bribe, of being corrupt, they shouldn't be in the legislature. They shouldn't be in the legislature. So we should look at all these things come 2023. We need to be smart. Don't look at only the president, though, because the president will surround. Imagine the speech that was given on Thursday. Obviously, our president did not write that speech. He had people writing that speech for him. So just imagine how did those people get there? And they wrote such a speech that lacks empathy, that did not even mention the Lekki massacre. Do you understand? We need to see the people, we need to look at those people that we are putting there too. We need to make sure, we need to call the government out and make sure that these laws are reformed to show that they want the best for the people. But because we know that we need to clean up that place, because because they know that the constitution supports them. They won't want it changed. So we want that place cleaned up, please, for the safety of our people, for the sameness of this country. For this country, we don't want people to start. Do you know how many people have left Nigeria? Do you know how many great minds we have outside the country that are serving other countries? It pains me. It pains me that they don't even see Nigeria as somewhere to be proud of. So please, people, please, we have to do our own part. We have to make sure that we get people that would be accountable, people that will make the government transparent, not people that will go and sit there and be sleeping, not people that will go and sit there and just wait to collect different kinds of allowances. No. Thank you, ladies. We've come. It's been an emotional week for me, so forgive me if I came out too strong, but that is how I feel. That is how I feel. It will not last, though, in Jesus' name. Amen. It won't. So please, people, please, as we go back to the different schedules during this week, let's start putting those things in mind and start to do things that will make Nigeria change, that will make Nigeria great again. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Omolmi, also known as Ayalash, and we hope you'll be here same time next week when we bring a phenomenal guest to talk to us. Good night.